you're struggling to become a better fighter in Fortnite, then this video is for you. Today I'm going to be showing you guys the steps I took to take my fighting skills to the next level. Being a good fighter is one of the hardest aspects of the game, and you have to master all these fundamentals in order of being a good fighter. Feel free to use the timestamps in the description, and also feel free to hit that subscribe button because I will be putting out lots of more content like this. To start off, we need to talk about warming up. Recently I've been using Kovaaks every day when I load up my computer. For any controller players watching, I have something for you after I talk about Kovaaks. I've seen so much improvement with not only my aim but my crosshair placement too while using Kovaaks. I'll leave some routines in the description for you guys to check out that I use. Now for any controller players and some keyboard players that don't want to buy Kovaaks, I have an aim training section in my map for you guys to use. There's a few different scenarios in the map, so feel free to check them out. I also have different level edit courses so that beginners and advanced players can both get practice, as well as a free build section where you can change your speed to practice consistency in your builds and edits. And finally, a piece control section with tunnels to practice different piece control scenarios. Overall, I think this map is a great way to help you guys warm up, and I would appreciate if you guys would check out the map. Let's talk about experience. One thing that all the top tier fighters have that you might not have is experience. Over time, these players have built up experience from playing tournaments for the last 5 years straight. All the top tier fighters have been put in different scenarios every day, but what they do differently is learn from them. Becoming a good fighter is not going to be easy. You might be following all these tips and all these fundamentals, but the thing that will take the longest is gaining experience. The best way to gain experience is by throwing yourself out there. Start playing the solo victory cups and the duo cash cups, and also try to play with people who are better than you. At the start, you're 100% going to struggle, but over time, you're going to learn, and overall, it will make you a better fighter. Next, we need to talk about learning to play aggressive. If you master aggressive fighting, it'll help you finish fights quickly, and if you're doing it the right way, you won't take any damage at all. When you start to play aggressively, you want to be the first one to deal damage. Now here are the 3 best ways to pressure your opponent when they are boxed up. First is by playing diagonally from their box. You want to constantly pressure their wall, either forcing them to make a mistake or edit out so you can piece them and finish the fight. The next way to approach an opponent's box is from above. You have a better angle and be able to piece control them from above if your opponent tries to box out. What you need to do is block your surroundings so your opponent can't do any side jumps, and then when you set up the right hand peek, you start taking their cone and floor. When you're going to pickaxe the floor after getting the cone, you never want to double swing your pickaxe. This is where your opponent is most likely going to go for a play, causing you to take a significant amount of damage. What you need to do is swing once, then take out your gun. That way you're ready for any play your opponent is going to make. You need to do this over and over until you get the roof to eliminate your opponent, or you can predict their next decision to do a little piece control on them. And now the last way to approach your opponent is from one box away. This one is mostly useful if you didn't do too much damage before engaging the fight. Once you claim the wall, you can do any protective edit to finish off the fight. The amount of damage you get on your opponent should match how aggressive you're playing. For instance, if you're able to crack your opponent's shield, you should be constantly applying pressure to make sure your opponent isn't able to get back any shield. So make sure to keep this in mind while you're W keying. Now what happens if you're in your opponent's position? This is where you need to learn how to play defensively. Playing defensively is often harder since you're either fighting on a lower HP or fighting someone you can tell is better than you. Most of the time, you're probably going to be getting pressured hard. This is where you need to make space. By making a whole bunch of boxes, this will make it harder for the aggressor to eliminate you. This will also stall time, allowing you to heal up. But you also have to remember you don't have infinite mats. That means you have to deal damage back. The first way to deal damage back is by pre-firing. Your opponent is most likely going to be too focused on trying to eliminate you. This is going to give you the opportunity to pre-fire while they're pressuring with no brain. Next is to play your angles. If your opponent is hopping on your wall trying to take it, this is going to give you so much opportunity. You need to make an edit where you'll be able to see your opponent, but they won't see you. Something else that works well on aggressive players is simply just running at them. Of course, I would save this option for last, but not too many players would expect this. If you're constantly making room and playing defensive, this is going to cause your opponent to start playing more and more aggressive. That's when you'll get an opportunity to edit out wide on them and kill them when they least expect it. Now the best way to practice playing aggressive and playing defensive is by using W key or 1v1s. And no, I'm not getting paid to promote this, I just think this map is the best to help you guys practice both of these fighting styles. The way it works is one player is weak and one player is healthy. The healthy player needs to play aggressive, while the weak player needs to play defensive. I've been using this map recently and I do recommend it, so I will leave the code in the description. One of the most important things I want to talk to you guys about is how 95% of you guys watching my videos aren't subscribed. So let's all just go and hit that subscribe button. Now we need to talk about how to peek. Peeking is one of the most important aspects in fighting. If you're doing it right, it'll allow you to deal damage without taking any damage. The most famous peek is the peanut butter. So many people always fail to do this peek the right way. If you have edit on release off, it's way easier to put your crosshair on your opponent before confirming the edit. But if you're like me and have edit on release on, you're forced to stay looking up, then bringing your crosshair back down on your opponent. The mistake that I used to make was not holding the edit long enough, causing me to get hit as soon as I edited. I could blame this on the fact that I have edit on release off, but it was mainly because I wasn't behind the edit. The next peak I want to show you guys is one that recently just got exposure. The bottom right edit is something all the pros just started using. When someone is right on your wall playing aggressive, you're able to edit the bottom 3 tiles and see the lower side of your opponent's body while they can't even see you. The best way to practice these peaks are by hopping in Raider's mechanics map and using his peak scenario. In my opinion, this is the best practice when it comes to learning how to peak, and I do recommend doing this until you have mastered peaking. Mastering patience is one of the most important aspects of fighting. Waiting for your opponent to make a mistake is going to give you a big advantage when fighting. For example, right here I'm holding a right hand peek, and my opponent makes the mistake of jumping up, and that's when I get a free 79 damage on them. And once again right here, I take my time to be patient, I read my opponent's play, and I get a really good shot off. And then I finish off the fight by being patient again. Now I'm going to tell you guys all the maps I've used to become a better fighter and why they're important. The reason why it's so important to use these creative maps compared to others is so you can maximize your improvement. Most people practice the wrong things, leading them to never improve. To start off, WQ 1v1s is great practice like I explained before, so I'm not going to explain it again. Next is Speed Realistics. This map is great for practicing mid-game fights. I also like doing the 2v2 and 3v3 version of this map because it is very good practice to build chemistry with your teammates. Another fighting map I've used recently is Peace Control 2v2 and 3v3. This map is honestly just really good practice, and I've seen some good improvement in my box fighting after using this map for a while. Another map that I find really useful is Martoz Turtle Fights. This is a map that I actually use a lot, and I find it to be really useful to practice both my aim and piece control. It's also just really good practice for your box fighting. All the maps I've talked about will be in the description, so make sure to check them all out. Now, of course, the best way to get in-game practice is just by playing ranked. Something I really want to recommend is just fighting everyone you see. When you die, or when you're taking too much damage during a fight, I want you to go back into the replays and look for what mistake you're making. I want you to write down all your mistakes. I know you're not going to want to, because I never wanted to either, but it's the best way to remember everything you need to work on. Something else I also recommend is playing scrims. If you're someone who's trying to get better at the competitive aspect of Fortnite, then scrims are very important. I suggest doing scrims a couple nights a week, and once again, going through and looking over all your mistakes. Lastly, I want to talk about the importance of VOD reviewing the best fighters. You can learn so much from watching their gameplay either in the replay system or just by watching their tournament highlights. For instance, you can watch someone like Cold, Peterbot, or Venom. Now try watching some of their fights once or twice to see how they approach the fight, what angles they're taking, and how they finish the fight. Think about what they do and why they do it. This will help you most understand their thought process, and you can almost put yourself in their shoes. Everything I talked about will be in the description, like all the different creative maps and the different scrim servers I recommend. Make sure to let me know what other types of videos you guys would like to see in the future. Let me know how your progress goes on becoming a better fighter, and also don't forget to use code ZAROFN in the item shop and subscribe.